These are powerful pills. These prescription drugs help patients live with debilitating chronic pain. But there's a problem. Too many patients and people who have never even seen a doctor get and abuse potentially deadly prescription drugs every day. Take them the right way, and they'll provide desperately needed relief. But taken outside the rules, these drugs can kill. We talk about drug abuse and think heroin, cocaine, meth. But those are not the most abused drugs. Today, more than 6 million Americans are abusing prescription drugs. And that is more than the number of Americans abusing cocaine, heroin, hallucinogens, and inhalants combined. These are powerful drugs. Hydrocodone, sold as brand names Vicodin and Lortab. Oxycodone, sold as OxyContin. Hydromorphone, sold as Dilaudid. And anti-anxiety drugs sold as Xanax and Valium. Today, more people have begun abusing pain relievers than abusing marijuana or cocaine. And that abuse is killing people that we know and love. These prescription drug addictions are overwhelming the treatment centers. More than 63,000 Americans are now seeking help. Some teens and adults say, "What harm can a prescription high do?" Well, the families of Jason Sirks in New Jersey and Ryan Haight of California know the harm. Their 19 and 18-year-old sons overdosed and died from prescription narcotics. Almost a century ago, the United States passed laws to stop abusers and black marketeers from getting their hands on controlled drugs. It's DEA's job to enforce those laws. We want to make sure that people who need pain relief get it, and that those who abuse it don't. Doctors practice medicine, and DEA simply enforces the law. The Controlled Substances Act helps ensure that doctors prescribe these potent drugs only for legitimate medical purposes. That was the law back at the turn of the century, and it's still the law today. Abusers get prescription drugs from so many sources. From the internet, where anyone with a computer and a credit card can get controlled substances without even seeing a doctor. DEA investigates and puts those internet operators in jail, both here and abroad. And one of those networks that we shut down was illegally supplying 3.5 million dosage units of controlled substances every month. Now, some abusers are bold enough to simply steal from pharmacies, and others, they shop from doctor to doctor collecting their pain pills, and some just forge their prescriptions. DEA is targeting all of this illegal drug abuse and drug diversion wherever we find it. Unfortunately, there are a small number of unscrupulous doctors who are also illegally supplying those drugs. Although they are few, they can have a tremendous impact. One such doctor in Florida was diverting so many OxyContin pills to abusers and traffickers that after the DEA arrested him, the street price of OxyContin nearly doubled in the area because of the significantly diminished availability of OxyContin, and many patients began seeking treatment. These are the kinds of doctors that DEA investigates, the ones who knowingly and egregiously put drugs into the hands of traffickers and abusers. Some doctors say they fear DEA enforcement and that they no longer will prescribe pain medication. It's important for you to know, though, the fact is that less than 0.1% of the more than 770,000 DEA registered law-abiding doctors in our country ever lose their DEA license. Good doctors will never hear from DEA. DEA most often investigates suspected illegal activity when it hears complaints from pharmacists, other doctors or nurses, state medical authorities, as well as family members and local law enforcement. In fact, the majority of DEA medical license revocations result from actions that were initiated by state medical boards. DEA enforces the law. We do not play doctor. We stopped doctors who sell prescriptions for cash kickbacks. That's illegal. We stopped doctors who exchange narcotics for sexual favors. That's illegal. We have taken action against doctors for writing prescriptions to fictitious patients so that the drugs could be sold on the street. That's illegal. One doctor wrote more than 600 prescriptions without any legitimate medical purpose to 150 people who weren't even his patients. He had never even met them. He broke the law. We have taken action against doctors who prescribed vast quantities of drugs to patients who admitted outright that they were reselling those drugs. These patients have even tested positive for illegal drugs, and they have had needle tracks up and down their arms. We stopped doctors who have written prescriptions to patients and then required the patients to give the doctor some or all of the pills for the doctor's use to feed the doctor's own addiction. Each of these doctors broke the law. DEA doesn't practice medicine. We enforce criminal law. These activities are illegal and have nothing to do with the practice of medicine. Doctors know that selling prescriptions for cash just isn't practicing medicine. This isn't just questionable behavior, it's outrageous criminal behavior, and no doctor should be willing to accept or defend these egregious criminal acts. They hurt addicts and they put all our lives at risk. And it's not unusual in the cases that DEA investigates to find numerous instances of patients overdosing. These doctors have become drug dealers, and they should lose the privilege to practice medicine. Americans need to know about the limited number of doctors that DEA takes action against. Americans need to know about their criminal acts and how we investigate and what these doctors are actually charged with. So we've launched an innovative new page on our DEA website at www.dea.gov called Cases Against Doctors. This new DEA webpage will publicly list the facts of our investigations against doctors. Many professional licensing boards do something similar. Law journals list attorneys who are disciplined, suspended, and disbarred. Pharmacy and state medical board newsletters publish pharmacists and doctors who have been sanctioned. DEA's new webpage will do the same. Our webpage should give comfort and confidence to the vast majority of doctors practicing legitimate medicine, such that they have nothing to fear. They will clearly see that their colleagues on this website conducted criminal activity that 99% of doctors wouldn't even dream of committing. They will see that DEA simply enforces the law and does not dictate the practice of medicine. Equally important, everyone will see just how few doctors DEA actually takes action against. And DEA's webpage will make medical professionals think twice about diverting controlled substances. They will see the dangers of breaking the law. The webpage makes it clear that fortunately our cases against doctors are few, but when they are breaking the law and endangering the public, they face the same severe consequences that all drug violators face. DEA is publishing two other important documents. This 30-page document summarizes the guiding legal principles and laws that DEA must follow in regulating controlled substances. This important guideline also answers specific questions that doctors have raised about distributing controlled substances for pain treatment. DEA has never before published such a lengthy and detailed policy statement on this subject. However, I must be clear that it doesn't put forth any new agency policies. It simply elaborates on the legal requirements because that is what the medical community asked for. DEA remains committed to the September 2001 balanced policy of promoting pain relief and preventing abuse of pain medications. DEA agrees doctors can and should prescribe controlled substances under legitimate medical standards to treat patients in pain. And the statistics show that they are. According to industry data, hydrocodone, an opioid pain reliever, is still the nation's #1 most prescribed drug, and the number of hydrocodone prescriptions has been steadily rising over the last 5 years. These prescriptions have risen actually 40% during that time. This policy statement replaces the frequently asked questions document that DEA posted on our website 2 years ago. Our intentions now are what they were then, to give guidance to the medical community for treating pain and preventing diversion. The medical community told us that they needed this guidance from us. We asked doctors and other affected parties to provide their views as to what areas it would be helpful for DEA to address in a future document regarding the dispensing of controlled substances for pain. This policy statement is that result. During the written public comment period, which lasted for several months, we received more than 600 comments. The great majority of them, in fact 82%, had to do with how and when chronic pain patients could refill their Schedule II prescriptions. For many, it was a burden traveling each month to a physician to get a new script. Many doctors wanted to issue multiple prescriptions with a "do not fill until" date on each. The law and regulations previously did not address this. DEA hopes to fix that, and that's why we are proposing, at the request of many physicians and patients, to allow doctors to provide a patient with multiple Schedule II prescriptions at one time in order to receive up to a 90-day supply of these substances. When it comes to stopping abuse and drug diversion, DEA simply can't do it alone. We need and encourage medical professionals to help us and join us in fighting the abuse that is killing our friends, our neighbors, and our families. Doctors that we spoke to suggested that physicians needed to be better educated on the responsibility that comes with the right to prescribe controlled substances. In fact, studies show that 57% of doctors believe that they bear primary responsibility for preventing drug abuse and diversion, but most, 70%, never receive training on how to do that. I encourage the medical and pharmacy schools and the professional associations to increase education on addiction, the treatment of pain, and how to recognize the warning signs of abuse, addiction, and diversion. There is so much debate, even within the medical community, about opioids and pain treatment and how chronic pain should be treated. But DEA does not enter into that debate, except to ensure that the drugs aren't being diverted for illegal purposes, as is required by federal law. DEA just wants to make sure that doctors can prescribe the best pain relief to patients who need it. Doctors need to practice medicine as they have been trained to do, and what they are sworn to do to help their patients. If they do that, and almost all of them do, they will never have a problem with law enforcement. And DEA will do what we are sworn to do: enforce our nation's laws to ensure that drugs are used only for the health and welfare of the public, and that these drugs don't feed addictions or ruin innocent lives. We can't think of any better way to show that that's exactly what DEA is doing than by posting information on our website about the outrageous criminal activity by a few doctors, which in turn should give comfort to the hundreds of thousands of other doctors. We think you'll agree, after looking at the information on the DEA website, that these doctors were no longer practicing medicine. They were simply drug dealers for profit or pleasure. The 2 documents that we are issuing will also help strengthen that partnership between DEA and doctors in our shared goal to make sure that together we care for those in need and protect those at risk, especially our young people. It's that simple. And DEA looks forward to working with the medical community to make sure that this is exactly what happens.